Good evening and welcome to Telling Tales. I don't need to tell you what we're all about, but I will anyway. We are all about the atmospheric role-playing games here on Twitch and also on YouTube. And I'll tell you even more about that as I start to go into our promo before we get into the game and introducing the characters and all that good stuff. If you check down below this, you will find all the links to our stuff. Links to Twitch, links to YouTube. You're watching on one of those channels. Please do check out the other. Twitch is where you can catch us live, and YouTube is where you can catch all of our previous streams. There's also links to our Discord, to our Patreon, to our social media. If those are things that interest you, check them out. At the moment, we're running three weekly campaigns. Let's talk about that. So Mondays is Vaesen. And they're between arcs at the moment, and I believe the next arc picks up next week, he says, glancing at the bottom to see if people will nod. Yes, Vaesen picks up again next week with a new arc. Obviously, Wednesday nights is Symbaroum. That's this. Thursday nights has been Cincinnati Chronicles, the final arc of that, until a couple of weeks ago, and we've basically been stricken by calendar problems, which means that Cincinnati Chronicles, it's only a 4-arc thing, but it's going to be kind of split down the middle. And the second half will arrive in August, essentially. But it'll be worth it. It'll be well worth it. In the meantime, we might have something else for you through July, but we're still sort of arranging and picking the pieces up on that one. So you'll just have to wait and see. We also run one-shots once or twice a month, the most recent of which was this Sunday just gone, where Johnny ran his homebrew Bat Out of Hell TTRPG for us. It was a lot of fun. That will be arriving on YouTube sooner rather than later. It's still available on Twitch if you want to watch it. And the next one shot, as part of our impromptu and unexpected motorcycle month here on Telling Tales, will be on Saturday, the 15th of July, where I will be running Hell Knight, which is a lovely Doom biker art punk TTRPG. So please do join us for that. All right. That's enough of that boring promo shit out of the way. Let's start bringing on the players and start doing the boring player shit. Which has made me feel really bad for the first person I'm about to introduce here. So, hi, John.
Hi, Matt.
How you doing?
Boring, apparently.
There's all sorts of things you can do for that. Unguents, salves. No? Okay. Well, then maybe you should crack on and tell us, give us that meta recap of where the Witch Hammer is going. Not the thing, but, the story.
We don't know where it's going.
Or where it's been.
So we have been somewhat swept up in basically a gold rush in discovering the lost, or claiming the lost city of Symbaroum. After some poorly placed rumors went around a pub in Kovosti. Some of us are going to loot the place and retire filthy rich, and some of us have an aim that may involve pilfering a few things, but mostly stopping whatever it is that made Symbaroum a bad thing, making Ambria also a bad thing. Some of us are either sympathetic with or working more directly with the Iron Pact, such as Aaron and Steo. Steo, who is recently, we think, fully fledged member of the Iron Pact. And we're basically trying to gather as much information as we can on... We're trying to follow someone called Amendra and retrace their steps, and we've hit 2 of the 3 quest points, basically. But also, in more exciting news, the Templars have separated from the church and possibly led an attack on a church outpost and maybe escalating to straight-out war. And we don't really know who's still alive.
Yep. That's good. I think you did my one as well, so that's all good. Yeah, do you want to show Aaron Dar's art and tell us who you are?
Oh my god, I forgot to add that. Yes, that is Aaron Dar and his faithful meerkat Farron.
Yeah. And who is Arendar?
Arendar is the last known living heir of House Dar. He's a naive, kind-hearted, wannabe noble that is yet to be crushed into cynicism by this horrible grim world.
Well, we'll see what we can do tonight about that. So, lovely stuff. Let's bring on our next player. Our next player tonight is Chris. Chris plays Steo. And you know what? I always do this is what the characters are. I'm going to let everyone else do that tonight. So, Chris, tell us about Steo.
Steo, in the absolute vanguard in the working to crush Arendar's per innocent outlook on the world, is a embattled, pragmatic but deeply damaged veteran from the Great War, which turned the southern lands of Alberator into a haunted wasteland, and came north, like basically the rest of Ambria, and settled, colonized these plains in the north, and this, hoping to continue further into the dark forest. Steo is tangentially, as a pragmatic person who has serious trust issues, is tangentially associated with the Iron Pact and is very keen on just saving as many lives as possible and then drinking himself to a well-deserved final rest.
Lovely, lovely positive stuff from Chris there. Let's wheel on our next player. It's only Stephen.
It's only Stephen.
It's only Stephen, everyone. Stephen, why don't you tell us about Elmendra? And not Elmendra, Elindra. This is the problem. We were talking about this before we started. Elindra, please.
Elindra is one of the names taken out of the Symbaroum rulebook, which is very, very similar to the names of several NPCs in the campaign books. Yeah, so she's a tall, strong young lady who had a promising career ahead of her as a Templar. Was in training to do so until something she can't adequately explain went wrong. There may have been some sorcerous powers manifest. And she was booted out of the church, and I think it's fair to say that she's been kind of lost since then. She's in Davakar, partly because, you know, a girl with fighting skills has got to make money somehow, and partly because maybe there are some answers there.
Absolutely, and she's now accompanied. She's picked up a stray squire.
That's true. Yes, another lost Templar. Not so much kicked out of the church as stolen by crazy necromancer wizard guy.
Yeah,
and freed. Yes, Revelia. So
absolutely.
She's kind of taken her under her wing. Not that Elindra's much of a mentor, but there you go.
Well, maybe she'll grow into it. Or maybe Revelia will be dead by next session. So let's bring on Mike. Mike, hi. Hi, Mike.
Hello.
Tell us about Father Anton.
What can I say? Fighter, healer, lover, raconteur. No, he's almost
He's
none of those things.
I would debate the term almost.
He's a healer. He's a healer, and he has been known to fight.
I would debate. Look, even a stopped healer heals twice a day. You know what I mean? Like,
as the phrase is, yeah,
yeah.
So, also, this is the most accurate one: the butt of all the jokes in the party and in the stream.
Spot on.
Not up for debate. Yeah, he's a priest. He's not really affiliated with the church so much anymore. He just hangs around with this crew of misfits doing, crew of misfitty things in Davakar, and sometimes doing little bits and pieces for certain individuals in the church. Yeah, that's about it.
That's about it. Absolutely. Well, then, let's go and grab our final player. It's Sam. Sam, tell us everything there is to know about Askarai, please, and make it last about 60 seconds.
Askarai is a barbarian-raised changeling ranger scout guy who is mostly at this point an adopted Ambrian, but does rangery, scouty stuff, good at seeing stuff and noticing stuff. Has a difficult relationship with elves, and I think that's the main Ascarai points.
Yeah, the main. I was joking, but you did it.
Easy.
You went and did it. Absolutely. Lovely. There we go. So these are our crew, and at the moment, as John said, they've been investigating these various sites out in Davokar to try and follow the trail of Elmendra. And I mean, you are following the trail of Elmendra, but also crucially, I think at the moment it's a path towards rather than a path following, right? You're aiming to get under Karvosti, into the sanctum of the witches of the plateau, and hopefully there find where Elmendra has gone via finding what she found, which is a lot of uses of the term find and found, but I think everyone understands what I mean. You have visited those two, as I said, New Earthmore and Far Maroon, pretty damn successfully. Sort of. There are only a few NPC deaths, it has to be said. And now you have returned to the west of Davokar towards Karvosti via the Odav settlement of Archbridge, which we went through again last time. And now you're striking north for Karvosti itself to return there, regroup, replan before you strike out further west to Lake Volgoma and Yepheron Isle, the final site of how Elmendra found her way under Karvosti. So there we go. So before we pick up our route to Karvosti, Arindar, John wasn't with us last week, but has said that while at Archbridge, Arindar wanted to carry out a task. And I, being a very magnanimous game master, have allowed this to happen. So, John, what did Arindar want to find out?
Arindar would like to find some form of armor for his faithful and trusty Meerkat.
Sure. Can you please give me a your choice of cunning or persuasion? So cunning. No,
Persuasion.
It's your...
My cunning
Really?
is 7.
I thought your persuasion was 5 for some reason, but
No, my persuasion is 11. My vigilance is 5.
Your vigilant is 5. Okay, yeah.
That's why they sent me to talk to the bandits, but they didn't bank on the fact that I'm not the best at negotiating.
Sure.
But he's,
yeah.
relatively speaking, he's the talky one.
Yes.
Right. God help you. So, Arindar, well, then give me a persuasive roll. I would say it's got a malice to it, but you know what? I don't think you have that malice because you have a Meerkat with you. So clearly you do know what you're talking about with these things. So go for it.
Could I also, before I go, check with either Antom or Ascarai whether there are any tribes that associate more closely with Meerkats? Because that might help me find someone.
You can do. Now I have to find out whether there are. I think there. You know what? I mean, I don't know the answer to that question, so I'm going to say they don't know the answer to that question either.
Fair enough. Right. Then that was a flat persuasive roll, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nope.
No, you don't. Like every you find a couple of armorers and they just kind of like screw their faces up and shrug. You're not sure if it's whether your Odav is particularly, because you probably do have a smattering of Odav from living in Thistlehold, but it's clearly either your Odav is rudimentary and bad enough that they couldn't really understand you, or because you were rudimentary with it, they didn't want to talk to you, or because they were just kind of
baffled.
Want armor for a cat. So you're not sure, but either way, you have no luck with that particular thing.
Fair enough.
Okay. So, if I recall correctly, I think Karvosti is a pretty short ways travel to the north. In fact, let's have a quick glimpse on the old map. You haven't brought it up for a while, I don't think. So let me share that screen with everyone and see if we can take a look. It's annoying that it keeps defaulting to this instead of the one we want to use. As you can see there, 5 is Karvosti, right? He said, gesturing at the wrong thing. 5 is Karvosti. 15 is the VR outpost. Oh no! So many hands. So many hands. And they just stay. That's great. Professional streamers. So the hands of the I'll just remove it and put it back on, shall I? Oh no, they're still there. Oh my god.
I think you need to end the capture and
I think I need to
recapture.
end the capture and recapture. That's
I mean, we could
great
always
stuff.
just end the stream. I mean, it's
Just
pretty.
out
It's
of
gone pretty bad.
shame. So
Just hands.
5, just to the east of the lake, there is Karvosti. 15 is the VR outpost, and 14 is Archbridge, if I recall correctly. So I would say it's probably 2 days travel to the north, something like that. Although fairly, it's a fairly well-traveled route, so you can probably make quite good time on it. Yeah.
While we've got the map up, where's Jakar? Is Jakar 4?
Jakar is 2.
2. Okay.
Mhm.
Is that where we were provisionally planning to head after Karvosti to pick up boats?
Yeah, most of the shipping on Lake Volgoma centers around the port of Jakar. So,
Okay. And then
this group, although without you, has been to Jakar before.
okay, and then Yeferon Isle is in Lake Volgoma.
Yes.
Is that?
I mean,
It's
there's
18.
there's one number in Lake
Yeah,
Volgoma,
okay.
so yeah, you do know that it's in the north of Lake Volgoma. So
Cool. But the feeling is that traveling is going to be easier across that lake rather than go on land to the north.
Travel across Volgoma is relatively safe. There are the occasional raiders and pirates on the lake, but for the most part, it's given that it's within Davakar, it's seen as a relatively safe enterprise.
Cool.
Also, there's gigantic water beasties that latch onto ships and stuff like that.
There
Because
are them.
of course there are. Yeah.
There are them. So yeah, that's what we have. So let's say it's a couple of days travel north from Archbridge. But there's a lot of traffic on the roads now. Winter has broken. Spring is here, and so the path to the north is a churned morass of mud, as the frosty ground has given way to slick, swampy ground. Crossing the mouth of, or the near mouth of the River Malgamore, shortly after you leave Archbridge, is something that actually holds you up for several hours as groups of people try and make their way across the ford that is near Archbridge, but the river's running high because of winter just ending, so it takes you a few hours to make your way across that. Once you do so, like I say, it's not an eventful journey unless you want to make it eventful in some way. Is there anything anyone wants to do or say as you travel north to Karvosti?
If we have a bit of downtime, I might try out my Lawmaster on a small artifact that I picked up in Symbaroum.
Absolutely.
I picked up a small bowl of red clay with paintings of blacksmiths and sorcerers.
Yeah, because you tried Ascari's one, but not yours, right?
Yeah, we took Ascari's one to the Order Magica.
Yeah. But you did, because I remember you did try it with Ascari's and failed, at the location. So
Yeah.
That's great. Go ahead.
I think it's cunning, and I don't make it.
Okay, yeah, you get no real sense from it whatsoever. So, but either way, it's probably worth something. But you're not sure. You'd have to get it valued, or just sell it and hope that you haven't been scammed. Anything from anyone else?
Desperate for news on the situation in Ambria. If there's any Ambrian travelers, I can kind of, I don't know, spend some beer on.
There are indeed some Ambrian. You pass several Ambrian travelers, mostly going the other way, but you do pass a couple of peddlers who are walking north with a couple of donkeys in order to try and sell their wares at Carvosti. They've sold most of their wares at Archbridge, but now they're trying to sell what remains at Carvosti. And why don't you give me a you know what? Let's see. Let's use the old scheming system, shall we? So Ambrians generally like you people. So take a persuasive roll. I keep saying both of them. Is it persuasive or persuasion? It's persuasive, right?
Persuasive, yeah.
Yes. Give me a persuasive roll at +1, please.
Yes, 5. Needed an 8.
Nice. Actually, it should have been +2, but never mind. So yeah, you find out from one of the travelers that the what seems to be an army outside Thistlehold is now more than 7,000 men strong. At least that's what they thought. With one of them reckons that she made a head count when leaving Thistlehold. Depends how
that's
she is at that.
Not unprecedented in Ambria, because I dimly recall that when we took Yndaros, there was like basically the whole Imperial army there, but it's still the biggest concentration seen for some time.
Yes, it absolutely. If that head count is correct, it will be the biggest army marshaled in Ambria since the downfall of the Jezites and the taking of Yndaros.
Yikes.
Do any of us get to ask if the travelers have any idea what the army is doing?
I mean, they're camping.
Okay. Nobody's been to ask them, or
I mean, I think I don't think that people won't ask an army camping what they're doing, but I think that it's very likely that most armies will not go, "Here's our plan."
Yeah,
to anyone who asks.
Fair enough.
Also, most of them aren't going to know anyway.
No. So anything they actually probably will tell what they think the plan is, and it may have little to no bearing to what's going to happen. The peddlers say they were passing through in any case, but yeah.
Can we try? I guess it might be me because I'm suggesting it, but can at least one of us try to get some news from any travelers coming the other way about what might be happening in Carvosti?
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want to give me a... Well, I said there were Ambrians coming back the other way, so go ahead and give me a persuasive roll at +2.
Okay. Ooh, that's a success.
The only real information you get is that people on the plateau are worried. You get them telling you the horrible, scandalous news about Templars driving the Curia out of the Sun Temple on the plateau, which you obviously already knew. And you also break bread one evening, or the evening of travel, really, with a merchant who expresses that the last time he was on the plateau, there weren't so many barbarian warriors there.
Like they were going elsewhere. Okay, that's interesting.
In the evening, if there's moonlight, Asker would like to test out his thing that does witch sight.
Okay. What on?
I don't think Askra has a great sense. Probably like whoever is around.
Sure.
Ooh,
Yeah.
point it at Farron.
Askra will point it at Farron on Arendar's suggestion.
Okay. I'm gonna roll to see if there's enough of a moon out. Okay.
Okay, yeah.
And with it being, I don't know, like a pre-industrial society, I don't know, whether there's cloud cover or not. Let's call it a 50-50, shall we? That seems
Sure.
fair. There is not.
Askra will shake it. Does this thing really work? I've been scammed by that auto magica guy.
I don't think witch sight's real.
Who knows? Try it again tomorrow.
So, anything else for the travel north? Okay. Well then, you all arrive on Carvosti in fairly good shape. It's very overcast, but definitely a lot warmer than when you arrived. In fact, it's kind of moist and muggy today. There's definitely a chill to the air, but also an unpleasant dampness to it as you almost wade through the mud leading up to the foot of the long path that leads up to the heights of Carvosti. The refugee camp, or not really a refugee camp. How have we referred to it before? Because it's not a refugee camp. Like the
undesirable camp, I suppose.
Yeah, the camp of undesirables. The base is quite a bit bigger than the last time you went through here, and seems to be full of the same people, kind of like some people begging, some people just sitting there morosely, but a lot of them do not seem to be in particularly good shape. Pretty much all of them seem to be Ambrian, and there's kind of an ugly mood here, definitely, although certainly they're not in any position to do anything about the state they're in. As you pass through it, De Gesto is going to tug on someone's clothes. He said, desperately trying to find the right kind of dye. Elindra, De Gesto is going to briefly kind of tug on some of the fabric on the back of your armor and lean in and say, I'm just going to ask around this camp, see if any of them are armed and experienced, but somehow managed to piss off the barbarians. See if they're good hirelings.
Okay.
Everything he does, people are like, this is something you expressly said you'd do, but I'm surprised.
So what's going through Elindra's head is that I'm fairly sure there was a conversation amongst the rest of us that we were kind of okay with De Gesto coming. I can't remember if we'd reached the conclusion about De Gesto bringing on hirelings.
I think we were like happy with him doing it. We were a bit concerned about him bringing more hirelings than we have people, but I don't think we ever reached an idea of like how we would stop that happening.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Yeah, so I guess Elindra would say that then. Just be like, if you can find them, 2, 3, let's not go crazy.
He kind of wrinkles his brow and says, well, it's my purse, you don't have to pay for them.
Yeah, but we want this done quick and we want this done quietly, and we don't want to march down there with an army. Some extra help is one thing.
He kind of nods, but you're definitely pissing him off by giving him orders. Because he doesn't work for you.
No.
He just kind of like grunts and walks off into the crowd of people.
He's more than welcome to go and find a whole bunch of hirelings that can be his new crew, and I'm sure they'll be just as good as we are.
Sure. I can't gauge if you as Stephen think this is reasonable behavior from Elindra or not.
That was Elindra as tactfully as possible trying to broach the subject of we don't want you to bring enough people to outnumber us. Elindra doing something as tactfully as possible is not likely to be that tactful.
So the rest of you, I take it, are kind of going through that camp.
Do we see many church people? Specifically, any church people that might have come from the Sun Temple, but any church people in general?
You know what? No, I don't think so. I think like church people who left the Sun Temple would either would have traveled as a group, and would either presumably maybe have just stayed on at the pilgrim camp if they were on Karvosti, or they would have. There's no reason for them to leave. They're not stuck, if you see what I mean. As long as they can get enough food to travel, like they're welcome at Thistleholt. Like, you know.
Okay.
They don't have to earn their keep because they could just go to a Sun Temple and work there. So, so no, I don't think so. I think it's empty of priests and novices and the like.
Okay.
Dio will remember to remove his "I'm working for the elves" ring and stow it somewhere, maybe a little bit more surreptitious.
Sure, that's fair enough. So you make your way up the quite slick, muddy, long ramp towards Karvosti's gates, and find yourself at them, much the same as they were before. There are a couple of people ahead of you, kind of arguing that they should be let in. And it seems to be to no avail. These couple of honestly quite well-to-do looking merchants who kind of grumble at each other and turn away in a bad mood, and almost kind of brush you aside as they walk past in a foul mood. As you follow them and walk further up, you see the Wrathguard at the gates, kind of peering down at you. One of them calls out in heavily accented Ambrian, "What is your business here?"
Absolutely looking at Aaron.
Does anyone know?
I've partly forgotten why we are here, other than just resupplying.
I think that's it. Days rest, get the news, resupply.
Yeah.
We're just here to resupply before we travel onwards.
What is your business in the forest?
Well,
I can sort of nudge Aaron and just quietly be like, "We're doing a favor for Cruel Draw."
we were doing a favor for Cruel Draw. He's still here, isn't he?
The ogre?
Yes.
He is still here. You are friends of his?
Yes.
Let us examine your packs.
Of course.
Okay, is there anything to be hidden? I don't think there is there?
We have Asgray has a potentially cursed mummified hand. He will try to hide it.
I thought that might have been returned.
No, Asgray definitely has it.
Okay.
I can't think that it's been given to anybody.
For some reason, I thought that was just being stored in like your like storehouse in.
That's what I thought. It was in the
did you
safe
bring
house.
it back with you?
I think it was bought because I don't think we fully know what it is yet. And
You do not.
there's maybe the thought of Asgray that like we could maybe find out what this is from a person in this kind of place. Maybe it's. I honestly don't remember 100% if it's been stored. I think Asgray has it on his person.
I have the sword hilt that I found at Fria.
I've got a wooden figurine of a spider god, and in my sketchbook, there's sketches of the crown and thorns tattoo.
Okay. Is any of this? Are you undergoing any effort to like hide any of it?
I don't. No.
I'm not.
I think looking shifty around Wrathguard seems like a bad idea.
I'm not going to argue with that.
We also have like the bell and the rod from the necromancer guy, which we definitely don't know what it does.
That was sent back with Ganderald.
Yeah, a bunch of stuff went back with
Yes.
Gandereld.
Okay. Good.
Okay.
I think I might also casually drop in as if I was conversing with them that we were here 6 weeks ago and that we the terrible business that happened with that attack. I'm very glad we could, help out and defend.
Yeah, I was kind of waiting for that, if I'm brutally honest. One of them kind of peers a bit closer at you and says, "You are the outsiders Farvan talked to."
Yes, I believe that was his name.
The first guard.
Yes.
Go in. Be careful. Make no trouble.
Thank you.
You are waved through the gate. They don't even examine your packs. Whew.
Great job, Aaron.
So the first guard, more important than the friendly ogre. That's something I should note down, really, isn't it?
It's something to remember, yeah. Turns out the person who's kind of second in charge of the plateau from a non-mystical point of view, more important than the drunken ogre who runs a shop. So you are on top of the plateau of Karvosti. It's starting to get dark, but there is still light out. Let's have a lovely pick of the stronghold, Tharaban's stronghold there. The plateau looks more or less as you left it, with one pretty big difference is that to the west of the stronghold, which places it basically between the small barbarian settlement near the gates and the pilgrims' camp further back near the Sun Temple, where there was once just a kind of a long rambling path, there is now a long rambling path that leads to the center of a large barbarian military encampment.
Is it like a mixed group of barbarians, or is it more of one clan or another?
I mean, I need to know where you get. You'll definitely need to be close to know that.
Okay.
But are we just heading to the pilgrim camp, or what are we doing? Shall I bring up the map of Karvosti so we can remind ourselves of the general layout of it?
I think we make camp at Pilgrims tonight. We could do with the extra news. They might know what happened at the Sun Temple.
So I will attempt to fucking pointer stuff again. So here, oh my god, StreamYard, sort this out seriously, guys. This is okay. So that's useless. That's quite annoying, actually. I'm quite annoyed, StreamYard. Please do sort that out. So to the right-hand side, those buildings there are kind of the barbarian steading. You can see the path down below them to the bottom right of the image. You can see the stronghold. It's more or less in the middle. The pilgrim camp is the cluster of like small buildings and tents, kind of center top of the plateau there, and basically between the entrance and the pilgrim camp, sort of where that big rock is with all the trees on it, is a large barbarian military camp. So where are we going first?
Anyway, let's make camp.
Yep.
Check out these
Head to
barbarians.
Head to the pilgrim camp. Yep, absolutely. Well, as you go past, anyone who feels they have kind of a rough knowledge of the clans of the barbarian folk, feel free to make either a vigilant or a cunning roll. It's quite dark, so maybe at a -2 to see if you can pick up on kind of clan affiliations. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Every single barbarian warrior you can see in that camp is a member of the clan Yadesa. It is a camp. It is a clan from north of here, along Davakar's edge. I believe they're quite close to your clan, right, Sam? Where you come from?
Yeah, I think they're the one just south of my
Yeah.
clan.
They are known for being quite sedentary, not very nomadic. They have a noted large stone fortress as kind of their primary settlement. And you know what? Askarai and Anton, both give me a cunning roll for some extra bits of information.
I make it. Rolled a 2.
Same. I also rolled a 2.
They are known not only for being sedentary, but also for being quite a politically and militarily important clan. They have had more high chieftains on the throne of the stronghold than any other clan by quite some way, including Faraban himself. Yeah. It's quite a large encampment, but certainly a long way, a long, long way from 7,000 men.
I guess we'll relay that
Kind of-
information to the group. Yeah.
I don't know. I'd fancy their chances on top of a place like this.
If
I
they were
suppose it
defending it,
depends.
maybe.
It depends whether they're here to defend it or whether they're mustering to go somewhere else.
I mean, there's been a lot of activity, even finding the Gowan so far south. It could just be barbarian business, but seems just a smart move to have an army ready at this kind of time.
I suppose
If
we've got no
our
way of knowing what their intentions are unless we ask them, and there's no assumption that they're going to tell us.
If our luck holds, they're probably also at least somehow tangentially attached to the gold rush for Symbar. Everyone else in Ambria seems to be.
Well, that army outside Thistlehold?
Well, Queen Corinthia's had her eye on this particular spit of land for quite some time. Part of me thinks that maybe some of the generals regard the northern clans as unfinished business.
Did we? This is a Steve asking Matt question. Because I can't remember. Did we first get wind of an army outside Thistlehold, like before or after we first met Crueljaw?
After, but not long after.
Okay. Like
news can travel very quicker than you can travel by and large. But
sure.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah. I suppose the point that Elindra will make is it's difficult to infer anything from the timing. We can't know that army is anything to do with the stories about Symbar, although, of course, it would be a big coincidence.
I think it may be more related to the tablet than Symbar.
Really?
I mean, the timing seems more in line with the tablet than with the Almendra business.
There's a lot we don't know about that. But like, you kind of will try and lower his voice a bit because it's not really common knowledge that we've seen the tablets or had them in our possession.
I've literally got rubbings of them in my bag. Just remembered.
Remember, it has been nearly 2 months since the word got out about Symbar, so it has been quite a while.
We found out about, didn't Antom see the army? Is that right? When he was coming up this way?
Mm-hmm.
And that was like the night we found out about Almendra and stuff.
No, in fact, I don't think he did. And if I said he did, I'm going to retcon it.
Maybe.
I don't think I did, but I think that the session that Anton rejoined the party was when we all first found out about it.
Yeah.
I think it was just news in the tavern on top of Hopposty.
There's a lot of politics going on with some of the matters here, and like we aren't the only ones who spotted that the statuary in the sun god's temple was only tangentially prios in nature, and we can't be the only ones to have seen that those great bronze tablets did not look like they looked like penny dreadfuls. They didn't look like prophecy bearing.
Those statues have been there for a long time. What they are and aren't isn't going to be news to anybody.
I just think that a lot of what we know about the forest is based upon what is politically expedient for us to know. I think a lot of assumptions have been made.
I mean, we do know there's this other army around in the forest, which seems to be outside the rule of the High Chieftain, and it could be just to do with that. I mean, I think
maybe it is barbarian business then. We're fine. It's grand. It's all going to be fine.
I think there's a lot of armies gathering. There's going to be wars. There's going to be battles. I don't know if it matters that much who's fighting who to us.
While we're here, I think it might be a good idea to find out several things about the relations of the Templars to everyone else, because I can't imagine the Queen being happy about someone turning on the church. And, well, I can only imagine what the barbarians think, as they barely allowed the Ambrians into the Prios's temple here for them to turn on each other, and now there's a different Prios faction. I suppose I'd just like to know what the barbarians think of all this. The tribesmen, I should say.
I suspect while we're here, there may be a few places up on the plateau that we want to visit, right? Let's see what shape the Sun Temple's in. See what news of Ambria we can pick up in the Pilgrims' camp. See if there is any news from Crueljaw, and if we can connect with some of the barbarians, then perhaps the Wrathguard again. See what the world looks like from their point of view. I don't want to spend a long time here, but I think maybe we have a lot of things that would be interesting to see, or people that would be interesting to speak to.
From what De Gesso said, he was planning to be here 2 or 3 days. So I think that seems like a reasonable time frame. And maybe we should also try and learn a little bit about what the witches are doing while we're here. Seems relevant to what we're planning ourselves.
Yeah. Now we're here, there suddenly seems like an awful lot to do.
I think we also know that there were other parties out who were, trying to do the same thing as that we were doing, go to the same sites that we were going. Maybe some people have already gone to Yefron Isle. Maybe people have come back. Maybe people have heard rumors. Like, we should gather as much information about that as we can before we set off.
Yeah, we could use. I mean, even to find Yefron Isle, I think De Gesso is planning to look for this in his hirelings a bit, but we really need someone to show us the way there.
Well, his hope was that we could go down to that town by the lake and hire a... Yeah. Ilindra's forgotten. As has Steve. Yeah, I think his hope was that we could hire a boat with a crew when we got there.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can hire the boat, but we know it's in the north of the lake. I don't think we know precisely where it is. Maybe we can find someone who knows where it is in Jakar, but if we're here for 2 or 3 days, it'd be good to find that information here beforehand.
Somewhere between here and setting sail, we either need a navigator or a good map, or both.
Yeah, exactly. For now, I think we should set up camp. It's been a long day.
What time is it, Matt?
It's probably like, rather than give you a time tag, yeah, it is starting to get. It's nightfall.
Okay, I suppose what I'm asking is it conceivable that we could go and pitch some tents up in the pilgrims camp and still have time to go visit the tavern in the...
Oh god, yeah.
Okay,
People are up in the longhouse until, gone midnight. So.
great.
Yeah.
Okay. Camp first, then, I guess.
Yeah, and you know what? As you do so, you are greeted, as you were the very first time you camped here, by the unofficial pilgrim camp leader / helpful busybody of Edrafin, who gives you a happy wave and comes over as you start pitching your camp. Oh, hello! Oh, it is a relief to see you again. Welcome back.
Oh, there he is, the man himself. Edrafin, how's it going?
Oh, it is, I suppose, troubling and eventful times. Have you heard of the happenings at the Sun Temple?
We've seen some of the happenings at the Sun Temple. Can you tell us why? What's going on?
I do not know, but a few weeks past, Elisabetta, Viara, that is, the leader of the Templars here, declared that the Sun Temple was the property of her order. The Curia had to leave. Marched right out. Father Pyramai ranting and huffing. And off they went. He led them off the plateau to who knows where.
You were kind to us, so I'll give you this one for free. They went to the Sun Temple, the other one.
Oh, the ancient Sun Temple to the east.
Yeah.
My word.
I'll give you this one for free as well. New Earthmore still stands.
Oh, well, that is good news, I suppose. You detect that he gives very little sense of concern about the people of New Earthmore.
What remains of the Sun Temple on Carvosti now? Is it still in control of Elisabetta?
It still stands. There are no services. They guard it like a fortress up there. No one is allowed near it. People sometimes walk past to go look at the grove, but they don't let anyone in. They certainly don't talk to anyone. Not even me.
What have the clansmen made of all this?
I think they just don't want any trouble. They just shrugged. Saw it as Ambrian business, I suppose.
Okay. And we've also noticed a large barbarian gathering in the plateau since we were last here.
Yes, here to ward the plateau against dangers, it's said. I don't know what dangers there could be. It's quite safe up here. At least I hope so. He sort of looks around, suddenly paranoid.
So you think they're here to guard the plateau?
Oh, I believe so, yes.
Okay. Against anything in particular?
There are foolish and extreme rumors being passed around. My personal belief is that there's some kind of clan war in the brewing. That's, again, what some of the rumors are saying.
Huh. Interesting times. Any word from Thistlehold?
Military gatherings? I can't see that having anything to do with here.
It's not
What would
so
be the
far from
point?
here, though, is it?
It isn't, but what would be the point?
None of this.
Anything else happened related to the attack a few, I guess, weeks ago?
No. There was obviously the scuffle at the VR outpost. With you knew about that. No, not really. It has been oddly quiet in a way, and eventful in other ways.
And the witch is still in some kind of witch
Oh.
meeting.
No, neither hide nor hair. Very quiet, like I say. Haven't seen the Huldra, or nor her circle of confidants who used to go hither and thither and sometimes talk to people, and all those keepers who arrived. They all went in, shut the doors. That's the last we saw of them.
Calm before the storm, feels like. Goodness knows what the storm is, though.
Well, in any case, I'm glad to have seen you. I have lots of others to attend to. There aren't so many coming through this year. I think a lot of them are being held down at the bottom of the path.
Seems that way.
It is busier down there. Oh, actually, have you heard tell of a man by the name of DeGesto?
Oh, DeGesto, yes. He's been through a few times.
He's been up a few times, yeah?
Yes.
Interesting.
A fortune hunter like yourself, I believe.
Does he have much of a
Fishing one as well.
reputation?
He could be quite loud. Other than that, he seems a pleasant enough fellow when I've spoken to him.
Good.
Well, I will be about my business anyway. Less pilgrims here now that, well, they can't go in the temple, but still, I see it as my duty to look after them. He kind of bumbles off a bit, checking if people have food and water.
Pint? Sounds good to me.
Pint.
Yes.
Okay. You all finish setting up camp and travel south to the is it south or is it north to the Longhouse, which is honestly the Longhouse is busier than ever. However, usually the ratio is maybe kind of 50-50 Ambrians and barbarians. That's definitely not the case now, with plenty of Yudesa warriors kind of sat outside the Longhouse or together at tables inside. It's quite difficult to fit your party inside.
We might have to do some outside drinking, lads.
Is there any particular purpose, or are we just having some food and drink?
So I think we were going to keep an eye out for Cruel Jaw and any other friendly barbarian types.
Mm-hmm. Well, you will definitely see Cruel Jaw propping up the bar, as always. He seems quite drunk, to the point where he has kind of like his forehead face down in a puddle of some kind of anonymous bar liquid.
It's probably one of my favorite punk bands.
I might just turn to the rest of the party and just say, we're going to be here for a few days. Do we want to choose this moment to speak to Cruel Jaw? Or should we try and come back when he's a little bit more sober and could maybe be a little bit more discreet?
He has his store open all day, usually, so.
He does have something of a reputation, habit for announcing things to the bar, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm. And also, he definitely has a bit of a temper when drunk. You have seen him break someone's arm. So, you know.
He wouldn't do that to us, though. We're friends.
So we keep saying.
I guess if he's remotely conscious, might just kind of, wave and kind of in greeting and stuff.
Roll
I'm not going to kind of
discreet.
stride up and pat him on the back or anything, but yeah.
No,
No,
yeah,
I guess not even discreet, but more just like, hello, we're here. Like,
sure. He gives
nice to
you
see you.
his eyes kind of flick open briefly, and he gives you a stare that you think he recognizes you somewhat, and then he blinks and goes back into a wet doze.
Second
How much
favorite
XP to never say that again?
Sorry, a moist doze.
A damp snooze.
So I suppose we'll just sit outside for a while then. If we're not going to get anything good tonight, it's going to be a tomorrow job.
Yeah. Soak up the atmosphere, maybe have a bit of a chat between us. Which is,
Largely
well,
try and eavesdrop a
Yeah.
bit.
Well, I'll leave that to the two people who can speak the language, so, or at least stand a chance of being able to speak the language. We do have an opportunity, Steve will say, to talk about the plan for DeGesto. I thought he was, when he shaved himself off to go to the camp, I thought the implication there was that he wasn't allowed up onto the plateau, but that seems to not be the case after speaking to the camp handler.
He came here to recruit, and I guess he felt that maybe he stood a better chance of doing that, or doing that cheaply.
Yeah.
Below the plateau rather than on it. He seemed quite annoyed when I tried to suggest that he might not want to hire too many people.
He is like a fast-flowing stream. As long as he's going in the same direction as us, he is a boon and a benefit.
He makes more sense as an ally than as a rival, but I'm open to the possibility of that changing.
Yeah, look, at some point, the question's going to boil down to something like how many of these cursed artifacts can we fit in this bag? And DeGesto is going to want to bring 2 bags. And I think that's the point where he becomes dangerous.
I think half your party wants to bring the 2 bags.
Yeah, how many bags can we carry?
I think the other half of us want to avoid cursed artifacts altogether.
Depends how much they sell for.
It's just all the more cursed artifacts for the rest of us.
Speaking of which, Ascarai, I figured out, or I was told, what the ring does now I've signed up to it. So I'd like to tell you so that you can avoid using it if at all possible.
Okay, what it does something? I thought it was just a ring.
Yeah, that's the thing with these things. Once you know what they do, you can work out how to do them. But this one, I've been told it will stop corruption in some circumstances, unless you bring it upon yourself. It allows you to send communications in your dreams.
To anyone, or do they have to have a ring?
I think they have to be in the pact.
Could I send you communications?
You could,
dreams?
but this is what I'm getting to, Ascarai. I know you don't trust the elves, and neither do I. Those are the ones he told me about. I don't know if when you put this ring on and attune to it, if it's going to light up like a tracking beacon and tell every flipping elf with a bow within 100 miles that you're there and you're a target. So I want you to know about it, but paranoia in this case might serve you well.
I think the corruption thing sounds interesting, but maybe save that until we're deep in Davakar in a place we feel like corruption might be an issue. For now, I will continue to use the ring as I have in the past when, well, it seems less necessary now that you have one and they're actually a member of the Iron Pact. Yeah.
Well, officially, I cannot condone you doing that. Unofficially, you knock yourself out, son.
Well, it doesn't seem so necessary to pretend I'm in the Iron Pact now that we have you who's actually in the Iron Pact.
I don't, for some quantities of actually in the Iron Pact, I don't know. It's just politics, lads. It's all politics.
I think if we're in a situation where it is beneficial to have somebody in the Iron Pact, it makes more sense to have the person that is actually, as far as we can understand it, in the Iron Pact, rather than a changeling with a stolen ring.
Yeah. I'm sorry I have made your knickknack slightly less useful by telling you how it's slightly more useful, but still good to have around.
No, it's good to know. So, if the situation ever arises, I can at least look even more like a fucking elf if it's needed.
Yeah, that's true.
So, I think from talking to Edrifin, we've saved ourselves one of the jobs up here, which is that it sounds like we're not going to be going and finding out what's happening at the Sun Temple.
Correct. We are giving that place a wide, wide berth.
Yeah.
I think I've heard enough of what the Knights of Dead Prios have to say, which is surprisingly little outside of their book. It seems to be mainly violence.
Do we go and find the first guard, the first Wraith guard? Because we have, like, he doesn't owe us a favor, but there's a relationship there. Maybe we could learn something by just making ourselves useful.
I think if we feel like we can get access to Farvan, it's worth trying. I don't want to be too enthusiastic about that in case we annoy someone.
Or end up roped into yet another weird task.
I don't want to bother him if we have nothing to add, but he might appreciate insight as to, well, the Ambrian matters.
He also doesn't know about that raiding party from the far north, probably.
No.
There is a good excuse for us to maintain that relationship, is what I'm getting at.
Good point.
I worry that we should keep what we're doing very close to our chest around here.
Oh, yes.
This army being raised to protect the plateau, I mean, we're thinking against armies and barbarians, but there's no doubt that news of this Almendra business has reached the High Chieftain. Maybe it's to protect underneath the plateau as much as it's to protect the obvious parts of the plateau. What we're doing, they must know, leads to us essentially breaking into the vaults of Carvosti.
Under the noses of an army.
Yeah.
Why do we always end up doing the fucking sneaky shit?
I agree that the news of this war band at New Earthmore would be interesting for them, but surely they'd immediately question why are we at New Earthmore? And
that is also a good point. I don't know. I'd rather regard the clans as friends rather than foes, but I suppose we're not going to have much of a choice for much longer.
Okay, so what things do we want to do here? I feel like we got some good interest. We got some news from Edrifin. I think we can rule out the Sun Temple. I think we'd like to speak to Crueljaw when he's more sober, and we'd like to speak to Farvan if we can. Is there anything else to do here?
What we should try and get from Edrifin is, like, he must know of several other groups have gone to the island. Maybe he can help make our map a bit better. Give us some feedback. Have any of them come back alive?
I suppose he's no stranger to Ambrian treasure hunters, is he? It will not be shocking to him.
He's specifically no stranger to the 3 sites that are the talk of the town for the last 2 months.
Sure. Because again, we have to assume that everything Brother Bartho told us, he told to anyone who wanted to hear it on Carvosti.
Yep. Still, it was good not to buy his silence. I didn't want to pay that price.
Could it be worth our time to try and find out about what the ways are into the tunnels of Carvosti while we're here?
I don't know how we find out.
Don't know how we find out safely. That sounds like the kind of question that's going to raise some red flags.
I think we're going to have to find out at some point. And if we've got 2 days here, 3 days here, the information in Yeffron Isle we think is going to be the code that gets us through the gates. Yeah. So somewhen we're going to have to figure out how we get to the gate.
Well, we know what a leader said, which is either through the witch's dwelling or through the undergate. I think that's what she said about the way to get into the tunnels in the first place. I don't know where those things are.
I thought the undergate was what we're looking for in the tunnels, and that you can go through the witches, but there's perhaps another way.
Is the undergate is the door?
That's what I understand.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. No. So it's yes. There's directions about what to do once you're down in those tunnels, but perhaps not how to get in.
I believe from the various conversations last week and over Faramroon, like we came to the conclusion there's two. Obviously, there's lots more information would be handy, but there's two fundamental bits of information we need. Right, we need
the code for the
door, and where the undergate is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just in the interest of doing more on Carvosti, is there anything else we want to do in the Longhouse tonight, or are we happy with food and drink and off to sleep, well-earned rest?
Yeah, I think aside from soaking up the atmosphere and seeing if there's any kind of interesting snatches of chatter that we can get, which is probably an Anton Ascarai thing. Not really?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay. Well, then you retreat to the Pilgrim's Camp and probably have one of the better nights of sleep you've had in the last few weeks, seeing as this is probably the first place where you're not entirely sure that people will fall on you in the night and to cut your throats. And you wake up the next morning. It's a bright spring morning. The sun is out. Carvosti seems a little bit greener than it was the last time you were here. And nothing has visibly changed.
Good morning.
Morning. I guess we should try and find out if the guesto has made it inside Carvosti at any point.
That's true. We should also...
I imagine he'll find us. What were you going to say, Steve?
Let's talk to our friend in the camp, see if he wants to... Who's got the map? Anton, you had the map, didn't you? The one you copied?
Yeah, I believe I made a sketch of it somewhere in my pack.
Just to see if he wants to... If there's anything we can do, he'll free up a little bit more information about where exactly Yeffron Isle is.
I think you got all the information off Edrefin that he could give you the first time you were here.
I had a thought, not an especially happy one. If we are to go and hire a boat and a navigator and possibly a crew, we're going to need Thala.
We can probably we can pull our resources. I think there's enough.
Perhaps we
10 Thala will buy a farm.
Could we sell our good Etamite? Etacop?
Etacop. I think we could sell Jakar. We might be able to find a buyer there.
You can also always just trade it.
Yeah.
Good trade.
Okay.
Well, we could go see Cruel Draw and see if he's willing to buy anything.
That's a
There's
good
anything that
idea.
might have.
If he's awake already. Well, we break camp. We're probably not. Are we going to stay here tonight? We haven't made that decision yet. Let's just walk down the hill, see what happens.
Yep.
Okay. So you make your way. So you're making your way to the Longhouse and the associated small market, and
Breakfast
you
pint.
you absolutely reach there, and there is a smaller group of people than last night, but still some Udesa warriors and the like. The market is kind of setting up. Cruel Jaw's small store. It doesn't seem to be open just yet, but it is quite early. And he was unconsciously drunk last night, so you may need to wait a little while for that one. There are, however, other traders there, even a couple of Ambrians who presumably were allowed on before they got a bit more fussy about which Ambrians they let through. A number of clan folk market stalls. Yeah, you could try and buy and sell.
Asgard needs to buy some arrows.
That's easy to do. Yeah.
Okay.
I might try and see if I can find someone who's buying or selling kind of like raw material. Like, is anyone buying gold?
God, I would call gold raw material, but what gold do you have?
I have 10 gold teefies from like 5 adventures ago.
Yeah. Yeah, there are some people who trade for curios here. I'm sure you could find someone who will give you some money for those.
Yeah, if there's like someone who's got like a stack of jewelry on a desk and is kind of looks like they might be into artificier narcissism.
Sure. Well, there's plenty of people here who are into artificialism. So, yeah, absolutely. I don't suppose, Chris, that you will have noted down how much those are worth, will you?
No, I will not. I'm sorry.
Obviously.
No.
Okay.
They can't be worth too much. I'll be happy if I get if I see 5 thaler off the back of this, I'll be delighted.
Oh, sure. I'm just trying to stay, consistent. So I believe the teeth were from, I think, that specific room.
I'm so
God.
sorry. I should have given you some warning.
How many do you have?
10.
10. Okay, let's call that. That works out quite well. Let's just say they're worth 10 thaler. And you can indeed find someone to try and buy them off you, an Ambrian who seems to deal in minor curios from the forest. But can you give me, please, a persuasive roll to see how a persuasive roll at, a general +1 to see how you do with persuading them to give you the money they're worth. Is that failure? Yeah. You're on mute, by the way.
By 1 point.
Okay, well, let's not make it too bad then. They offer you 9 thaler.
Okay, well, I'll cash them in then.
Sure, absolutely.
At least one of my ropes, I think, is still tied to a door in Symbaroum. So I would like to purchase.
Yep.
I would like to purchase a replacement rope.
Yep. Any kind of standard equipment will be easily found there. The arrows, the ropes. And I'm not going to make you roll for bargaining on them. It's only for the more unusual stuff. Is there anything more unusual that you want to buy or sell?
Are there any armorers?
Yes, but there's not too much variety in what to buy, and it's mostly the kind of armor that clan folk wear.
It's mainly for humans or
Can I-
humanoids.
try waving my cat and at them and seeing like me.
Yeah, sure. It's the same roll essentially as you made last time.
Cool.
So, could you give me a? I can't remember what it was. Persuasive at something.
Yeah, it ended up flat
Right.
because I had a cat with me.
Yeah, sure. I think you can take a, but you can take a +1 because I think you're currently seen relatively favorably on Carvosti. So
I rolled a 1.
okay. Well then, for that one, you speak to an Odav armorsmith who gladly engages you in Ambrian and seems happy for the chance to practice his Ambrian, and kind of engages with you. And as soon as you ask him, his face lights up and he says, my dear Ambrian, I have, by huge coincidence, I have in my stock some goods from my cousin in Thistlehold. He forges armor for the arena there. Yes, the fighting pit.
Ah, yes, I know it.
One of the pieces granted to me is for a meerkat. This clearly is our lucky day, and your hospitality is mine. Do you wish to see it?
Yes, please.
Normally, I would have had to recommend you travel to see my cousin in Thistlehold, but fortune is with us. He kind of starts cracking open a large crate at the back of his store and pulls out several pieces. But he also pulls out what appears to be, yes, armor made specifically for meerkats. There's literally pictures in the book of this. In the fighting pits in Thistlehold. I mean, you're going adorable, but it's meerkats that are raised to be killed by humans in the fighting pits.
Not if they kill them first,
or vice versa. Yeah. I would like you to give me a roll. Let's just go to the core rule book and look at armor. Now, yeah. Give me, please, a D20 roll. Yeah, just give me a D20 roll.
That is a 5.
Okay. What he has there for you is the meerkat equivalent of crow armor, right? It is patched together from other things. It definitely should fit a meerkat of reasonable size, like Verin. But it is, patched together. It is not like a complete custom made set of armor for a particular cat, which, to be honest, is probably just as well anyway. He kind of takes a glance at you and a glance down at Farron and says, "It goes without saying that the beast must be trained to wear this, yes?"
Yes.
Yes.
Hadn't thought that far ahead, but it does seem obvious.
No small task. And, well, clearly a custom piece like this, a little more expensive than the equivalent for a man, yes?
Of course.
With that in mind, I fear I will have to sell this to you for 6 thaler. It's about triple the price of what crow armor would cost.
It is custom.
It is. Yeah, like this is not something you can buy everywhere.
No. I will point out in a very charismatic and Aaronish way that obviously the skill of the cousin on show is exceptional, but it does contain much less resources and materials than the equivalent human armor.
Well, give me a persuasive roll, please, and a persuasive roll at +1.
One target of 13, and I rolled a 7.
The man kind of strokes his beard, nods and says, You make a fair point, Ambrian. You make a fair point. 5 thaler.
I will accept, sir.
He kind of claps his hands in joy at the bargain being struck. He gives you an Odav shake that you are well. Oh God! Now we've got to invent how Odavs shake hands.
I think we've maybe done something before that it's clasping the elbows.
No,
Like
that's
a-
the Ambrian one. I think we've said, isn't it? Like standard Ambrian one. Let's say it's kind of the upper arms. Yeah, or just explode the fist bump. It's a clasp of the upper arms with kind of both hands, like holding someone, steady. He does this, and the armor is yours. You're definitely going to have to train, Ferrin, in how to wear it. I'll make up some rules for how that happens at some point. It will provide Ferrin with 1d6 of 1d6 of protection, but it comes along with a -4 to defense to be applied to Ferrin's defense, in the same way that crow armor would for a human.
It is quite a spicy impediment, but
That's the balance, right?
yep.
Armor versus defense. So, yeah, there we go. And if you'd rolled anything but a 1, he was basically going to say, yeah, you got to go the Thistlehold for that shit, or to another place with some kind of fighting bit where they pit beasts against humans. Okay, is there anything else anyone wants to buy or sell at the market?
I've got a mundane but surprisingly hard to find the answer to a question that I think comes up every time.
Sure.
Like how much per day for rations? Because I guess we're kind of out. We're going to need to stock up for the next bit.
Sure. So, how much per day for rations?
It's the one thing that I just can't find an item for in the rulebook. That's like what is just food that you take with you. There's all kinds of different kinds of pubs and inns and camps and feasts and stuff, but
yeah, I think I don't. If it's not there, I don't know either. So,
okay. Well, I don't know. So, like a bed and 2 meals a day in a countryside hayloft is an Orteg. So that assumes eating for the day and basically paying nothing for accommodation, right? So
yeah, I think
rations and Orteg a day per person.
Yeah, I think that's actually quite a reasonable estimation.
Okay.
Although I'd say that if you're just talking travel rations, I think they're going to be cheaper.
Okay, then an Orteg.
Yeah. I try and actually avoid this kind of micro stuff, because otherwise it's just turns everything into a survival sim.
Sure.
So I'm not too bothered as long as we've spent some money.
Okay. I'll do maths.
Sure.
and come up with an amount and let you know.
Sure.
Is there anyone around selling maps?
Just like maps of Davakar kind of thing?
Well, we're looking for information on Yefranal or a map that might lead there or have that on it, but that kind of thing.
Give me a vigilant roll, but I think like it's unlikely to have a map seller around. So give me a vigilant roll at, I'm going to say -5.
Okay, cool. I need a 11. Roll the 14. So no.
No, there's nothing really around like that. It's a bit specialist.
Okay.
Asteroid, do you know of the tribes that live to the north of Lake Volgoma?
Not too much about them. I mean, the ones that there's the Baiga who we saw with the bears, who I know, I know of them. other than that, I think there's the Zarek, but those I know even less about. The Biker, they're a relatively friendly clan. They have their bears, but they're a little bit, I feel like anyone who keeps bears as pets or war animals is a little bit outside my understanding as a human being. But the Zareks, I'm not too sure about.
I know the Zareks. They're nice. They're good people. At least the ones I met were.
Just for context, if you want, like kind of, well, you know what? Let's do this via the medium of screen share, if I can, which I can. Yeah, that's not a huge amount of visibility, but let's try and up it a bit. So I don't know if you can read any of this. Do we kind of see that? Yeah, that looks kind of visible. So Carvosti, oh god, I'm going to try and do this, is here. Well, apparently it works on Adobe, but no, for God's sake. Carvosti is there. Directly to the north of Lake Volgoma are the Bayagas, as Sam described, who you've met once with their bear at Archbridge. More to the kind of the northwest of Volgoma are the Zarek, which, as Iron Dar said, he has spent some time with. Go watch our spin-off series, Fetters of Stone. To the north of the Bayaga are the Yedisa, who are the clan of High Chief Theraban, and the warriors who are here are Yedisa warriors. Further to the north of that are the Gadinja, where among whom Askarai was raised. And then to the north of that are more what are known as the northern clans, who aren't seen so much down and around here. Well, asterisk, I suppose.
Okay, so maybe if we meet someone who's a Zarek or a Balaga,
yeah, Bayaga, yeah, Baiaga,
then they might know the coastline of Lake Volgoma a little bit more and be able to tell us a bit more about it.
Yeah, that's a good thought. I would expect that there's some Bayaga clansmen on Carvosti. I feel like they travel around a bit. I mean, we've seen them in Archbridge. I'm sure there's some here, but I don't know if they'd let bears in, so it might be hard to identify them.
I'm wondering, are we perhaps over-engineering this? Because if we go to Jakar, where all the boats are, I'm pretty sure we're going to ask to go to Yefron Isle, and there'll be like 6 different captains who've gone there in the last month. Like we are the last place in this particular leg of the trail. The gold rush departed all at the same time.
I would say, I know there's actually a very, there's an interesting discussion to be had about this on a roundtable at some point, but it's definitely from a GM's perspective, there's always a very interesting sort of tendency for role play groups, and this group definitely does it, to pre-plan. Like I think I've tried to move as long, but I think it was where you tried to come up with a whole plan for going into the tavern to steal the Templar stuff, and I was like, you haven't even been to the tavern yet, and you don't know what it looks like, and you were coming up with these crazy schemes. Like, I think Sam's hit the nail on the head there, that if you want to find out more about Lake Volgoma and you're going to Lake Volgoma, the place to find out about Lake Volgoma is Lake Volgoma. Does that make sense? And I think Askarai, if Askarai says that, it would be a very apposite comment.
I think Steo's saying that about Jakar. I do think, it's probably true. At the same time, we're here. If we see someone that might know, if we find someone that might know, it can't hurt.
But if we don't, we'll see what De Gesto drags from the camp at the bottom of the hill when he comes back, and then with or without him, we go south and we see what we see.
Yeah. I think someone in Karun might owe me a favor. We've got a skipper there we did some work for. Maybe they'll be in, if luck is on our side, maybe they'll be in Jakar.
The was the actual ship called the River Maiden, I think, right? Is that
Yes,
what
it
we-
was
Yeah.
actually, yeah.
If it's still afloat. Yeah, okay. With that, let's roll forward. Say we're getting to kind of midday now, right? Cruel Jaw's store has still not opened. The Longhouse is there. Would we have kind of lunch or something like that, or?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, well, we've got a chance of warm-ish food.
Right. And maybe there'll be some Biogar or Zarex in there you could perhaps interact with. So you head into the Longhouse. Could everyone give me a vigilant roll, please?
Yep.
Yup. Okay. All of you who have rolled that will notice that at a table near the entrance is DeGesto, who is talking to a woman you haven't seen before. A woman wearing a kind of hooded tunic with long dark hair. She looks to be in maybe her like late 20s or early 30s. They are kind of leant towards each other, and at first perhaps you think it's some kind of tryst, and then you realize they are kind of like talking together in quite a... They definitely don't want their conversation overheard by the nearby tables.
I think if we
This is
saw
what she looks like.
the guest, we'd probably sit with him. I feel like it'd be almost awkward not to.
Yeah.
Seems like he's busy though. That definitely looks like a conversation I'd much rather eavesdrop on.
Why don't we let him see us and then just go sit nearby, but not
See.
too nearby?
Sure.
Yeah.
So you're definitely letting yourselves be seen, is the idea, right? Yeah.
Yes.
As soon as he sees you, DeGesto kind of like is leaning over and turns and goes,
Oh. We'll head over then.
"Hi, friends. Get some seats. Get close in."
Sit down.
I may have... I think you'd be pleased. Or annoyed at my presumption. Either way, a way forwards. This is Yosefia. She sort of glances across each of you with quite an assessing look, and gives you all a quite tight smile.
Pleased to meet you.
Meet you.
She nods her head and with quite definitely not a rough Ambrian accent, says, "And it is delightful to meet any friends of DeGesto." He kind of like looks a little happy with himself and sort of brushes some crumbs off the upper part of his robe. "Well, Eusefia, she has been following the same trails as us. With a little less luck, I think it's fair to say." And Eusefia kind of like looks quite blank at this for a second and then nods slowly. "But she has some information she's willing to trade. I have told her nothing of what we have found so far, but she has an offer for us. I leave it to you to decide." Eusefia nods and says, "My crew and I left here some weeks past, travelled west to Lake Volgome, yes? What do you know of Yepheron Isle?
I hear it's a bloody place. At least others trips there.
Yes. Well, I received some information beforehand from a source I believe we have shared. An annoying, plump little source.
Oh yes, him.
Well, this Yepheron Isle, according to the Barbarian chroniclers, she's kind of like looking around to see if anyone's close enough to hear. No one is, or at least she doesn't think so. About 5 centuries ago, the High Chieftain's cliff was attacked from below by raging hordes of a warrior queen called Yasmiel. As a result of this failed attack, the queen brought a curse upon herself and her people, and the gods banished all of Yepheron to the spirit world. However, certain scriptures were found far later, indicating that the island can in fact be reached as long as one does not trust one's senses. You have to take a specific path to Yepheron. A path known to me, and to some others, I'm sure. We went there. Very few of us returned. I have other knowledge, and I will grant you this other knowledge in exchange for an alliance of sorts. You are already allied with my old friend Gesto. I won't waste your time. This is what I want. We're all looking for a way under the plateau. You take me and a couple of my crew, just a couple, with you when you go under the plateau. And I will give you the knowledge I have gained of Yepheron Isle, including how to reach it. Because if you go there not knowing, you won't find it. I can also tell you where you definitely do not want to land your boat. Believe me, I know that. And another thing. When Bartho travelled with Elmendra, she had a habit that got on his nerves. She would recite a rhyme over and over again. A mnemonic. Some sort of code. You return here after Yepheron. We all go under Carvosti together. I have the code. Everything works out fine. And as a generous preview of this information, I can tell you how to find Yepheron and where not to go on Yepheron.
If you know everything there is to be learned from Yepheron Isle, why would we need to go there? Why could we not simply use the information that you have?
I don't believe I said that I know everything to know about Yepheron. My crew landed there, we were driven off. The secrets of Yepheron were not laid bare to me, but I can tell you how to get there and where to make a better start than we did.
If I may impinge on your generosity, how long ago was your expedition to Yepheron?
I'd say we left the isle a week and a half ago, perhaps.
The Gesto, are you planning on sailing with us?
If you'll have me.
I'd feel more comfortable if you did. It would be, not that I distrust you, Yosefia, but it would be all too easy to thin the pack of rival treasure hunters by giving bad information about how to get to a dangerous place. If we're traveling with a friend of yours, that's some form of insurance, right?
She shrugs. Of course. I would wish no harm to come to the Gesto. She reaches out and sort of runs a finger playfully through his beard, at which he kind of like looks very sort of like flattered and sort of puffs himself up a little bit.
Not much of a man for looking gift horses in the mouth. Seems like a fair deal.
I just
Look, we all know there are larger forces at play here looking for these things. We've heard of what the church has sent, the Queen. There are mercenaries. There's probably worse. Independent businessmen like ourselves need to work together.
So the
Why
price.
didn't you come with us?
Because I don't want to go back again.
So you're sending us to a place you're saying you have information that would make this more successful than your last trip, but you aren't willing to put your money where your mouth is, so to speak.
Yes, that's right. I'm sorry, do you have the passcode?
I'm just saying. We're more likely to return with you with us if what you say is true, and you don't have the information that we have. So
She rolls her eyes slightly and shifts her chair to reveal a one leg entirely in splint.
okay.
So in exchange for the information about how to get to Yepharon and back, and for the code, the price is that you and 2 of your crew join us when we go under Karvosti.
That's it.
Well, sure, let's
All
just
the
do that.
things we find split evenly. We all know that treasure is not the real allure here.
forgive me for asking a question that may have an obvious answer, but what is it you want under Karvosti?
What we all want. The way to Symbar.
Look, like I said, not one for looking a gift horse in the mouth. This saves us a lot of work.
Yep. Yeah, what we know can save you a long time and a lot of traveling. What you know may well save our hides. I'll look around to the others. Do we have a deal?
Arendar is giving Steer a slightly sideways look, but isn't going to say anything.
I think Anton will pipe up. I, for one, would like some time to consider this. Just even 2 or 3 hours.
I understand. For my part, I probably need to draw up a map for you prospectively. How about we meet here at nightfall? We agree a pact, or we agree to go our own ways.
That works.
Well then, She slightly awkwardly stands up, gives DeGesto a slightly flirtatious pat on the cheek, and then hobbles out of the longhouse. DeGesto is sort of looking kind of after her over the others with a slight grin on his face. Right. Well, clearly she's not to be fucking trusted.
I'm so glad.
And we need to keep a very careful eye on that woman. She is dangerous. She's a thief, a notorious thief. However, we can manage her and 2 of her crew. I believe that if we play fair and we are cautious, there's no reason why her, you, I can't come out of this on top. And if she tries to play us false, well, there are solutions for that as well.
You know, DeGesto, sometimes you think more like me than I'd given you credit for.
That's why we argue, isn't it?
Could be.
I'm not stupid. I wouldn't have got this far if I was stupid. Maybe she has some play. Maybe she doesn't. Either way, we are careful and cautious. But if she has what she says she has, solve a lot of problems.
I don't actually doubt what she says about Jeffron Isle. I just worry that we're going underneath this place with a lot of unanswered questions if we're taking so many tourists along with us.
She knows what she's doing.
So
yeah, but we don't.
I don't think I need to ask, but I'm going to ask. How confident are you that she wouldn't see you drown just to see some rivals drown? How confident are you that the information that she's going to give us if we agree to this deal is good information to the best of her knowledge?
Fairly confident. Her story matches up.
Your concern is about what will happen afterwards.
That's right. She came back from Volgoma. She left for Volgoma. She came back with a lot fewer than she left with. The story tallies. I don't see any advantage in it for her. She's fucked. She doesn't use hirelings like me. She has a crew. She works with the crew. You saw her leg. She'll be no good for weeks.
Yeah.
She's lost this race unless she hitches herself to the winners.
And if she plays fair, we'll play fair. And, well,
Of course.
and if she chooses not to, we're ready for that eventuality.
I certainly will be.
Allow me a quick thought experiment here. She says that she knows the passcode. She says that she knows how to get to Yafran Isle. I believe that other people would also know how to get to Yafran Isle.
I agree.
The question remains then, is there another way to get the passcode?
Well, she presumably got it from Bath, though.
Right.
We could probably get all of this if we find Bartho and rough him up. But I know that won't sit well with the young Duke over there. Nor with you, priest. Maybe not even with the sergeant.
I don't know.
I haven't seen him anyway.
Yeah, he's probably gone to ground.
Fundamentally, the problem is you pull some rogue out of nowhere that says that they have this information. I've got no reason to trust Bartho over this person you just introduced us to. Bartho's a scoundrel as well.
At least this one dresses like a scoundrel, though.
And I do have to question how reliable her information was when it didn't seem to. She wasn't exactly blessed with good luck, was she?
I'm under the impression she's going to tell us to do what she didn't.
Also, she may not have been blessed with good luck, but she certainly wasn't blessed with us.
Ultimately, she got there. Do we know how to get there?
I'm inclined to take her offer, but it does make me think, if she just has the code, we know how the gate works. We have some information from a leader about the gate. What is it we're going to get in Yeffron Isle?
The entrance. How we get in.
Is that something? It's the journey to Yeffron feels like it's going to be extremely hard and take maybe a couple of weeks if we're lucky. Is there any thought that we can simply not do that and try to use the information we have, find the way without going to Yeffron?
I know one person that's been to Yeffron, got this information, and come back, and she is exactly the person whose location we don't know. Elmendra is the only person that knows. Like Bartho doesn't know this.
I agree. No one. We know we know our way to the Undergate, which is through the Witches' tunnels.
I mean,
I don't fancy our chances fighting through a bunch of witches and the Wrathguard to get down into the tunnels that way.
Yeah, we looked at that entrance the last time we were here.
Yeah, we don't have the leverage to get them to permit us to go down either.
No, especially not now.
I do. As I say, I'm inclined to take it, but I think that it's worth a thought of, is the journey... I mean, Yeffron has been described as a very difficult place to survive by everyone we know who's been there, as well as a time-consuming journey. I think it's worth I just want to bring up the idea of looking for this entrance in another way, considering that seems to be the only piece of information we're currently missing.
I think if Yosephia's story is to be believed, and that's a big if, and she's telling stories about this warrior queen and her army that tried to attack Karvosti through this entrance that we're trying to find, who were banished to Yeffron Isle by presumably some kind of powerful magics. If there is any credence in that story, it doesn't bode well for our ability to just stumble into this thing, to find a map and get lucky. I don't imagine it's that straightforward. So the alternative to this plan, as far as I can tell, is go and find Yosephia or go and find Bartho, one or the other, beat the code out of them, and try to go in past the witches and past the Wrathguard. And that is not a plan that inspires confidence. Like, how bad can Yeffron be? Because the alternative is not great at all.
I mean, I think that, yeah, it would be difficult. My feeling is that Yeffron will also be extremely difficult. And I don't think, I mean, we don't have to, if we're not going to fight Yosephia for this code, there's no need for us to fight her for the code if we're finding it on our own. I mean, we could still just agree to work with her and take her with us if we do find the way in. But it seems like the group would rather brave Yeffron than take our chances looking for another way to find this entrance. So yeah, I think it's just...
You keep saying, Scout, look for another way to find the entrance, but what do you suggest?
Yeah. I mean, search the base of the plateau and search the top of the plateau. I mean, there's places that I would suggest on top of the plateau, primarily the forest. where
Who says
people
the
have-
entrance is on the plateau?
We don't know. I
Yeah.
think if we spent 2 weeks here looking for it, I think there's a reasonable chance we could find somebody or some indication of where it is. But of course, it's uncertain.
There's an army up here that doesn't want us to find it. Almost certainly doesn't want us to find that entrance. If we're searching the base of the plateau, there's a forest down there that doesn't want us to find anything except a swift death. Look, I think we take the gambit.
I mean, presumably the exit must be on the plateau, mustn't it? Because Almendra emerged with some kind of artifact. And surely the guards wouldn't have let her up with a tribesman artifact from bowels of Kavosti.
That's
If
true.
if they knew about it.
Yeah.
Oh, true.
Were they so thoroughly checking people at that point as well?
They checked us.
They stopped checking us when they realized we were friends.
Maybe they were known to Almendra. We just don't know this.
Crueljaw might have some idea of where Almendra came from the last time she was on the plateau, but I agree that this is, in the sense of our success of finding it, it's the riskier plan. In the sense of it being a danger to our lives, it's the safer option. But maybe we talk to Crueljaw before nightfall if we can.
I would flag that these questions would definitely have asked of Crueljaw right at the beginning. Crueljaw knew nothing.
Yeah, we did. We definitely we did rinse him for as much as we could possibly get in terms of information about Almendra. Look, Yefferon Isle is the place that we know Almendra went, and we know she got the information that we need from. If we go there and if we survive, we will have what we need to take the next step. Anything else is wildly speculative.
Almendra knew far more than we're just picking up the pieces, the crumbs that she left. And she went to Yefferon Isle. She didn't. If she did search here, she didn't find it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
Bartho
there is
doesn't-
also the possibility that we could find someone who's been to Yefferon Isle with more success and doesn't want to go all the way to the places we've been. But then we're, again, trusting someone who we know even less than Yosefia.
What do you know of Yosefia, the Guesto?
What I've said. She's a professional. She's a thief. She works with a tight crew.
You known her for long?
I don't really know her. I know of her.
So when
Met
she
her a
said,
couple of times.
so when she said you were friends, she was exaggerating somewhat.
Yes.
Okay.
I play the dumb, lecherous brute. I look like it, so it works for me.
Say we take the deal. See if we can get her to sweeten it by keeping her mouth shut to any other party that comes up behind us.
That needs to be a condition. If she's tagging along with our crew, she's tagging along with our crew. She's not making this offer to other people.
Agreed.
And we know we've shut the door behind us at Farah Maroon, but she doesn't. So, at least in some level, we know we got better leverage than they do. Anyone coming behind us isn't going to get the answers they need.
Yeah.
So it feels like you're reaching a conclusion.
Eventually.
Yeah. Is there anything else we want to do before we meet again with Yosefia?
I don't think the only other thing on the to-do list on Carvosti is to speak to Farvan, and I have no idea how to do that without just annoying barbarians. So unless a lead presents itself, I think we're probably just going to wait around.
I would like to see if Edrafin has any news about Brother Bartho's current whereabouts.
Sure.
That's a good one.
Why don't you give me a persuasive roll?
Yes. Flat?
Yeah.
Oh, missed it by 1.
He inexpertly deflects your question. But Edrafin does this quite often when asked about other people at the pilgrim camp. Probably because when people start asking questions about other people at the pilgrim camp, it's because their intentions aren't entirely,
Like ours aren't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, no.
Okay.
Is there anything else before the... Sorry, Mike, go on.
I was going to say, we still going to stick to this plan. We want to investigate Brother Bartha a little bit more before we make the final decision to Eusebia.
Investigate him, as in, can we get him to tell us the code?
Does anyone know where he might be now? Has anyone seen him? Like, ask around the pilgrim camp specifically for him a little bit more. I don't know. We've got like a bit more time, right?
He's had weeks to shoot his mouth off up here. Anything that he could have done to stoke the gold rush, he's already done. Like, what can we get from him? What can we do for him?
We get the passcode from him, right? Like, and it seems to me that he doesn't know what he holds. He doesn't know the phrase, the mnemonic that was being chanted was a passcode.
No, but he'll know as soon as we go up and go, hey, what's that phrase that like?
But what is the advantage in paying Bartho instead of paying Eusebia?
Bartho can't get us to Yepharon.
Let's just take the deal.
He'll just ask for what he asked from you before, right?
Yeah.
I think if our plan is to go to Yepharon, we need to make a deal with Eusebia regardless. So even if we can get the code from Bartho, if we're going to Yepharon, we may as well make the deal.
Okay.
I, for one, would rather have a known untrustworthy factor along with us than that little turd at our backs.
Agreed.
With God knows what.
If we get this information from Eusebia, are you ready to leave tomorrow morning to get so?
I've been talking to, well, one fellow. Might be all I can get, but any help is good help.
Okay. I think if we're doing this, speed is of the essence.
Yeah.
I worry about what sort of damage someone like Eusebia could do, but De Gasto has the right of it. It's better to know you can't trust someone than not know if you trust someone.
And if she'd wanted to go down those tunnels with 5 of her friends, the answer would be no. 2, we can handle.
Yeah, time's the luxury we don't have. Let's take the deal.
All right. Let's go talk to her then. The meeting happens at nightfall, probably a short distance away from the Longhouse. Eusebia is standing with a couple of other nefarious-looking individuals dressed similarly in hooded tunics. And as you walk up, she says, "Well, do we have an accord?"
Have you tried to strike this deal with anybody else?
No, and I will not if you agree to it.
Then I think we have an accord.
Does the Templar speak for all of you?
All right.
Digesto nods.
Yeah.
All right. Well then. One must travel by boat directly east through the passage between the islands called Ver and Hainan by the Zareks. Set the course, bind the rudder, and have faith. This Elmendra, she did not talk much of Yefron, but she lost 4 traveling companions to the inhabitants. They move like shadows, ghosts, wraiths. I am no Ordo Magica adept to be able to give you a classification for them. But their touch kills, which we found out only too well. Ware of them. Elmendra claimed, well, she claimed to have met Yasmiel's high priest. And apparently, he told her a way through the underworld, leading to the roots of Karvosti. I suppose that is what you are looking for. As for more specific advice, do not land on the eastern shore. If I had my way again, I would go from the west of Lake Volgoma and land on the western shore. As far as possible from, well, you will know it when you see it, a very large structure, a ziggurat. I suspect the answers lie within or beneath that, but I would strongly advise searching for a better way than a direct strike. It did not work well for us. We left 6 behind.
You said we go east to the Isle. From where?
Sorry, I'm kind of lost.
The-
She said, you travel by boat directly east.
Yeah.
Through the passage between 2 islands known to the Zarek.
Yep. Got it wrote down.
But does that mean that we have to sort of like skirt round to the west of Yefron to then...
She
come
did say
back?
that she advises you to go from the western shore of Volgoma.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, okay.
And you know it's near the north where there are a lot of islands. So what she's advised you to do basically is go to the northwest shore of Volgoma, presumably find out from the Zareks which these islands are, go between them and head straight east, bind your rudder and just keep going.
Okay.
And she's
said you
advised you
lost-
not to land on the eastern shore of the island.
Which we wouldn't do if we were heading east, right? We should land on
No,
the
that
west.
you should reach the western shore first, one would imagine.
Yeah.
But presumably her crew did not make that decision.
You said you lost 6. How many did you travel with?
You're looking at the survivors now.
Did you ever find out anything about how Elmendra persuaded the high priest to give up that information?
I have told you everything I know. If I knew more, I would tell you. It would not help me to not help you.
I understand.
You better
Nice.
stay safe till we get back. We still have information we need.
That is the intention. I would set off sooner rather than later if I were you.
Let's strike out tomorrow.
We were not the only ones traveling there. A ranger captain was in the area. I don't know if he made it or not. I don't even know if he made it to the island. But he was talking to the Zareks at the same time we were. And on our return, we narrowly avoided running into some black cloaks traveling west. So be careful.
We've had some encounters with both the Rangers and the Black Cloaks in other places already.
Well then, I'm sure you already know what to expect.
It's a busy time in the forest.
I hope to see you return. If you do, we will share that final information. And I'm sure before too long passes, we shall all be rich. She gives a little, quite cultured bow, which is a little awkward with her splint. And the three individuals wander off into the night. The two of the members of her crew never said a word.
I assume they're just hooded humans.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, you can see their faces kind of under the hoods.
Yeah. Well, we have a way
Big
forward.
day tomorrow. What, 2 days to Jakar, then I get a boat?
And then across Volgoma. And then are the Zareks around the northwest shore?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You were telling tales of that before, Aaron. You friends down there, do you?
I do, but, well, I have one in particular, but she's likely to travel a lot.
Well, let's see what awaits us on the wet road. I don't know.
Right. Up at dawn tomorrow. Off to Jakar.
See you all at first light.
Let me go see if that fellow will respond to a few thoughts. DeGesto wanders off back towards the longhouse. And unless there's anything else, I think it's another non-cliffhanger for us. Well, that's roughly a general cliffhanger, I suppose. Yeah.
We're on a plateau, so we are surrounded by cliffs.
It's true. And you could hang all of
I was
you
gonna
off
say.
them at any point you wanted.
I mean, that's what happened with Mankel, isn't it?
Yep.
Well,
Cliff plummet.
hung without, a cliff plummeter. All right, lovely stuff. Pop questions and comments in the chat if you want them responded to, please, folks. Thank you for watching. Thank you to my lovely players. Promo stuff, check down below for a bunch of links. There's links to YouTube, links to Twitch. If you're watching on one, please check out the other. Links to our social media, our Discord, our Patreon. Get involved with those if you want to. We're running multiple campaigns a week at the moment. Mondays is Vason, new arc of that starting next Monday. Wednesdays is Symbaroum. Thursdays is sort of Cincinnati Chronicles at the moment, but it's sort of being split in half and taking a break. We'll return to it in August. In the meantime, there might be another little mini series on the go in the next couple of weeks. Keep your eyes out for that one. We also run one-shots multiple times a month, usually now. The last one was this Sunday just gone, where we played Johnny's Bat Out of Hell homebrew TTRPG. That's still on Twitch, and it'll be arriving on YouTube relatively soon. And the next one is Saturday, the 15th of July, to round out our unintentional motorbike month here on Telling Tales. We'll be playing Hell Knight, Doom Biker Retro 80s sort of TTRPG. I'll be running that on the 15th with at least one person. Are you in that? You're in that, right, John? You're in Hell Knight? Yeah. John is in Hell Knight, as is Justin, Steve, Inga and Inga are all in Hell Knights. So if those are your favorite people, then tune into that. Yeah, I think that's it. We've probably had. I know we did have a follow today from Louis Le Lion. So thank you for that, Louis. Comments, questions, stuff. 42. Did Chris just say telling tales? Did you? I can't remember. Did you?
Yeah, look at his face. Yes, he did.
Oh, you said it as Steo. I see. Like, nice. I mean, coincidentally, both times I've kind of talked about the channel today and said telling tales on stream in the promo bits, each time I have so very nearly said ATCB. I'm very tired today. And I realize for some of our viewers, they'd be like, that seems like a really random thing to say because those are just letters. That's the name of our old channel. Yeah. Clearly, I need some sleep. Next. Might Odav shake on things by exchanging throwing insects to the face? Sure.
There's strange barbarians and there's strange customs.
We probably should have picked up on that from FNAO when she kept, throwing beetles at people.
Yeah, when she kept dumping a bunch of ants on your head.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next. Dungeoneering VTT, first roll, find an armor for your cat. Second roll, much harder, make your cat wear that armor. Yeah. Steve, I'd love it if DeGesto gets so wound up by thinking the party doesn't trust him that he ends up betraying them to get the knife in first. I get the sense that a lot of historical betrayals, this is essentially what happens. Yeah. 42, DeGesto is totally in danger of getting an unprovoked dagger in the back.
I'd love to see some kind of, Spider-Verse style fiction of just all the different ways that DeGesto has played out with different role-playing groups.
Sure.
Been through the campaign.
I mean,
suspect most of them is much more popular.
Well,
and also
start,
possibly dead by now.
I mean, it's worth noting, just pull the curtain back for a little bit. DeGesto is not the party's ally in the book. There are just a range of competitors, and there's information on how willing they are to work together or whatever. There's information on where they go in what order, thus where you would encounter them unless other things have happened. And as you might imagine, DeGesto goes to New Earthmore first, like you did. And I just read his description. And when you landed, basically, I made a roll. I got you to roll discreet. I applied that to the two people who were there, Lehan Mikkel and his Templars, and DeGesto. Determined that DeGesto had seen you because he beat your discreet. I then made a roll because I knew he was like a group of Ambrians who frequent Thistlehold. I made a roll to see if you were recognized, and I made the call based on DeGesto's description that he'd be like, "I'm not fucking with these lads. Let's see if they want to work together because he knew about the barbarians, right? So he was like, I can't take them on my own." So, and it's basically just that. So he's not like an ally in the book.
It's made of timing and dice rolls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I've really played with that element because there's this whole middle section of the book. Obviously, the biggest section of the book is this finding the way under Carvasti. And there's all sorts of factors, and it's exactly what I love in terms of sort of simming the experience of well, you've chosen to do this, so this now means this, and this means maybe these people will work with. So it's probably very apparent from the fact that she has art that Yosefia is also one of these groups. So
what you're saying is there is a version of events where we could have had Beremo in the party.
No, because Beremo, Beremo is not even made up by me. Beremo is made up by no one because you just wanted a priest to talk to, and I rolled a random name. That's Beremo. Beremo is that random name.
And we love him.
I work with idiots.
More myth than man.
Twisted and evil. Aren't we all just random names? Not those of us who are prophesied. Yeah. So So Barrow isn't in the book, is what I'm saying. Because he's no one.
I
Not
like to
yet.
think that most of the group's animosity towards DeGesto is just that he's not Barrowmo.
The same can be said of any other character,
Yes.
including yourselves.
Yes.
Right.
We
I
could all
hate
stand to be a
this.
little more Barrow.
I think we're quite in our actions. I think we've been quite trusting of DeGesto, even if in our constant discussions we clearly have zero trust in him whatsoever.
We have repeatedly decided to not murder him, and if that's not friendship, I don't know what is.
Sure. Yeah. Sam made a very good point there, and this is all. But all I have in my head, Mike knows exactly what buttons are being pushed in my head from the relentless focus on Barrowmo. Like the others of you are just like, oh, this is a funny joke, and it's kind of winding Matt up a bit. Mike knows exactly what this is doing. He's known me long enough that he knows there's a fire inside me that's burning hotter every time Barrowmo comes up, and it will only be satisfied when
we might need to
flames.
We might need to start some kind of Patreon sweepstakes for exactly how Matt is going to kill Barrowmo off screen.
I'll say this as well, actually. I'm also sensing that the animosity towards DeGesto is pushing some of those buttons as well, because I think you're just completely baffled as to why we don't trust him so much.
I don't think he's like, I don't expect you to be like, he's our friend or anything, but he's explosives friend.
He's no less trustworthy than any of the rest of us.
No. I think he's definitely held up his end of things and been quite reasonable about them, actually. But then Elindra just wants to carve anyone up who.
I think that's it. That is it, ultimately. I think that Elindra's been the least trusting of Barrowmo. I think that Steer had a moment, not the Barrowmo, the Gester. I think Steer had a moment when he was like, yeah, I'm not sure if we can trust this guy. And I think that, me, Sam, and John have been fairly on the middle of things with the Gestos. So
I think so. But I think even Elindra is kind of is definitely less bloodthirsty than she was about him a few weeks ago.
She's warming to him, and it's not about bloodthirstiness. It's about it's about wanting to murder somebody that might threaten your friends. It comes from a place of love,
Yeah, absolutely.
It just ends in a place of murder.
I think part of my point is I trust him not to murder us in our sleep, and I trust him to help us with our goal, but I don't trust him in the sort of Aladdin's cave Simba situation where we're all going through stuff and he sees the shiny cursed genie's lamp on the pedestal and he goes for it.
Yeah. And I think love ends in murder is both a good a good way to live and kind of steel yourself against the horrors of the world, and is also the best Nick Cave album. So, yeah.
The title track there was a fantastic cover of it by Unspecified Bar Juices.
Absolutely. Also, just for my own satisfaction, I'd like to throw out this from 42 because as soon as I said it, 42, I also thought of AFI. Both of us showing our age and musical inclination slightly there. Was there anything else, John?
I did just want to throw this one out, just so that we all know what sort of position Mike's in.
Absolutely delighted there was no combat in that session after recklessly spending all my XP pre-stream. Absolutely. And on something that wouldn't have helped you in a combat, right? I don't think we mentioned that, right? Do you want to tell everyone what you bought for Anton?
I just bought level 2 of the Lore Master, which is for him, can activate artifacts now. And he can speak to trolls and elves a bit more easily.
Yeah, because basically, the more and more I progress through the campaign books, the more and more box outs there are saying, if they don't have this level of Lore Master at this point, there will be a problem. Here's how you can think about solving it. And I'm passing those problems on to the players by saying, I'd spend XP on this if I were you otherwise. we might hit some walls later on. And I'm not going to do any work to solve it. So, you know, it's on them, innit? Right. Thank you very much again. Take care and stay safe out there, folks. And we'll see you next week for more Symbaroum. Symbaroum. Symbaroum.